Hi everyone, Stepan here. In round 4 of Città di Arco Chess Open, I faced a lower rated opponent again, unfortunately. Even though I had 2 out of 3, I again played a 200 points lower rated opponent. Now, my opponent is a very tricky player, and I've been through probably 50 of his games the day before the game. I tried to find weaknesses in his play. He always plays e4, and against the Caro-Kann, he usually plays the Panov and plays weird early c5 variations, so I was preparing for that a lot. In this game, though, he played something he only played a few times, and that was 5 or 6 years ago, so I really didn't expect this. So d4, d5, and he played e5. And whenever he would go for the advanced variation, after bishop f5, he would exchange with bishop d3. Okay, so takes, takes. And after e6, he would go f4. Now this, of course, is not good for white. There's a very clear reason why it's not good. It's wasting too much time and giving black sufficient resources to prevent this pawn push. And obviously f4 makes the c5 break much better, much stronger, because it simply breaks the center from both sides. And then if f5 is ever played, the e5 pawn is terminally weak. So I looked at this briefly. I mean, I faced this before, and I was going to play the thing I normally play. So knight h6. The idea behind knight h6 is I want to prevent an early g4 and knight c3, bishop e3, queenside castles, and just a quick attack. So now he has to compromise. He cannot really go for the pawn push he wanted to go for, so knight f3. I went knight d7, he castled. And here, if I go knight f5, he's going to go g4. So bishop e7. He played h3, wants to probably play g4, maybe prevent knight g4. I was looking forward to g4, and I calculated a variation which seemed, or I created a plan which seemed very good. So here's what I want to do. I want to play knight f5 and provoke g4. Once that happens, I have two options. I can play knight g3 and knight e4 with a tempo on the rook, or I can play knight g3 and then play h5, h4, where if my pawn is ever captured, then I take with the bishop defending my knight. So I did play knight f5. He did play g4. If he doesn't play g4, then I think I do go knight g3, and I have a big bind on his king side. So g4, knight g3 anyway, the rook has to move. Now, as I said, I can either go knight e4 straight away, preventing knight d2, but then I trade my knight, which I don't want to do. And if I don't go knight e4 straight away, then he can play knight d2, preventing knight e4. So my plan is to simply go h4, h5. For the moment, he's still not threatening king g2, because I always have bishop h4, and if that's taken, queen h4. The other thing is I want to castle queenside, and also I want to be able to meet f5 with knight f8 safely, so that if he takes... So imagine a king on g2 attacking my knight. He plays f5, I play knight f8, and if he ever takes, I take with the knight, and all of a sudden I'm threatening knight f4, forking the king and the queen. I'm threatening knight f4 and knight h4, I'm threatening knight f4, rook h3, I'm threatening rook h3, knight f4. So that's what I wanted to do. But I need to get my king safe, so I played queen b6. Queen b6 is a double-purpose move, preventing the development of the bishop before the knight moves. Obviously, he would like to play knight bd2 to prevent knight e4, but if he plays it here, he blocks in the bishop, and if he develops the bishop, I can take on b2. So he did go knight bd2. I went h5. I shouldn't even mention that this cannot be taken. If it's taken, I think just black wins. There's no other way to put it, because I take, and I don't know what he does. Let's just say c4. I can castle, and I don't know. I'm just playing random moves for white, and here, and his position falls apart. So after h5, he went king g2, and I went h4. Again, if this is taken, then bishop takes, and I'm defending my knight. He went f5, and This is where the position started to be very, very complicated for me. I'm sure it was for my opponent as well. But so my plan was to go knight f8, simply neutralizing f5. When I was analyzing ef5 during the game, I just dismissed it immediately. But it's actually not clear. When I came to my hotel room, I started analyzing ef5 again, because that had to be the critical move. Obviously, if I take, he has to take with the pawn, and then I have rook h5, and I can win that pawn. So, excuse me, ef5, if he plays gf5, I think I'm quite safe. Any e6, I think I can just castle, and on e6, I can just play takes. I don't see a problem with that. But after ef5, he can go e6. And now I have to take fe6. He plays rook e6. Now I have to go knight f8. And now rook e7. King e7, knight h4. Now it's not clear anymore. I didn't want to play this. I didn't see all of this during the game, but when I was analyzing, I just thought, okay, even if I did see this, I would never go for it. Okay, when I was analyzing the game with the engine, when I came back home, turns out e5 is the best move. What I did is suboptimal. It's not bad, but it's just too passive. Okay, c4, he wants to attack on the queen side. I castled. a4 again wants to attack on the queen side. And now e5 was actually my main candidate move. But again, I dismissed it because I found something trickier. So ef5, gf5, and rook h5. And I think he has to play c5. I don't see anything else. And after queen c7, this pawn has to move, and one of the pawns is falling. That there is no way to save the pawn. Instead, I went queen c7, getting away from c5 and also looking at the g3 square, which could be very interesting. So, for example, if I play f6 and he takes it, maybe knight e4, queen g3, could be interesting. So, queen c7 seemed to be a good move regardless of what happens next, because my queen belongs here, wants to get away from c5, wants to stare at g3, defend the knight, so this just seemed good. Again, ef5 was best. He went c5, and my next move was definitely a mistake. Now ef5 basically has to be played. gf5 and simply queen d7, and I pick up the pawn. There is no excuse for not playing this. I should have done it. I found something that I thought was tricky, but you're going to see. So now he has to play e6, I think. If he allows me to take on f5, that should be even worse. So fe, knight e, threatening knight f4. This is winning, I'm going to say, because if he moves the queen, I go knight f4. He moves the king, I go queen h3, and I just take everything. Instead, I played a very bad move. I played rook e8. Rook e8 is bad for two reasons. Firstly, I didn't take on f5. And secondly, my rook is pinned. It's undefended. So I have a loose rook on e8, which is not good. It's not defended by anything. And yeah, thirdly, I'm giving him more time in the attack. Not that b4 is a huge threat, but I shouldn't have given him time. The whole idea of rook e8 was to play f6, and I wanted to weaken e5 and then take on f5. Okay, b5, ef5. Oh, excuse me. ef5, gf5, and now rook h5. Okay, and the problem with f6 seemingly is that knight h4 could work. It doesn't work. That's not the problem with f6. The problem is that I didn't take on f5 sooner. So he did take on h4. I did take on e5. Now, of course, king takes would lose the queen. Queen takes would allow bishop h4. So none of them are really good. Instead, he went rook e5, which I think is the best move. Now, here's the issue. I take on h4. My bishop defends my rook. And here, he should have played king takes g3. And this all, I'd calculated all of this before queen c7. That's why I said it was tricky. I went queen c7 to be able to pin this rook in the event of king g3. And he just blundered the game away here. But let me show you what happens. If king takes g3, then the idea is bishop f6. This rook is pinned. Now I'm triple attacking it. My rook is defended. If he goes knight f3, for example, I can just go knight d7. And if knight takes rook, then knight e5. And in the end, this rook is loose, and I should be able to win this quite easily. After rook h4, though, he went knight f3, and knight f3 simply fails. It fails to rook e4. After rook e4, it's hard to suggest an option. If king g3, then again bishop f6. And if bc6, for example, then bishop e5. And I don't know, knight e5, I can just sack the exchange, takes. And I'm not sure I can take the rook on a1. For example, king to g2, queen takes. I think he has queen b5, and this should be a draw because I really should be taking on c6. If I play here, then he can just check me, and if I take with the king, then this is obviously bad. So I don't think I can take the rook on a1, but I should still be much better. Okay, so after rook e4, he actually went knight g5, which is even less resilient. I can just take that, bishop g5. He went rook e8, bishop g5, and simply knight e4, and a piece up. This is a piece up for a pawn. Absolutely no attack for white. Why is there no attack? Well, if he ever takes on c6, I can take with the queen. If he ever tries a5, a6, I can play a6 myself. He's never getting his bishop into d6 because my knight defends d6. What else? I mean, my other knight can easily get into the game. So I don't think there are any issues here. He went bishop h4. I went knight d7. bc6, queen c6, of course, a5, a6, of course, rook b1. I have to keep my knight on d7 because I want to prevent rook b6. I went rook f8. If I can take on f5, then I'm just breaking through. He went rook b6, which it just gives up the exchange. I mean, but it's really hard to suggest a plan. That there's really not much he can do. Queen f3 doesn't work because of knight d2. Queen f1 doesn't work because of knight d2, so he cannot defend the pawn. He can go rook f1, but... Okay, so rook b6, knight takes, cb, rook f5. He went queen a3 here, and this is a mate in 4. Queen c2, king g1, queen d1, king g2, queen e2, king g1, and rook f1 mate actually happened on the board. I don't remember checkmating somebody probably ever in a tournament game. Nice of him to allow that. It's a pretty checkmate. Yeah, so this game was way more complicated than I thought. So when I finished the game, I just thought, okay, I was much better all along, had a good position, and just outplayed my opponent tactically. That was really far away from the truth. He was better at one point, and I actually misjudged the position severely. And I didn't play ef5 when I should have played ef5. So I gave him a lot of chances, which I shouldn't have. Anyway, after 4 rounds, I was on 3 out of 4. So a good start to the tournament. Hope you got something from this one. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more chess. Bye-bye.